Master madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. Program reality, double thing duality. Root upon the face of all mankind. Our numbers up and the dead woman sign. Go along to get along. Hypnotized by the siren song. The nights are empty and the crypts are cracking open. The hordes upon you and you stand there frozen, waiting for the word. Stand in line and wait your turn. Don't follow the strings to find out who is pulling. Just drink your poison, keep on laughing and drooling, eating your own flesh. The master always knows what's best. Worldwide genocide. The overlords of hungry parasites. They point the finger and the eagles fly. Raining fire, children die. Starving plague, paralyzed. Pile of bodies rotting, covered in fire. But no one wants to talk about it. It's safer not to talk about it. I cut my strings, no more bowing to the master. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground. I ain't backing down. Silver bullets in my pistol, in my holster. My will is strengthened and my confidence is bolstered. Don't test my resolve. Don't test my resolve.
Hello and welcome. Here we are to the Iron Mountain Hour. My name is Cliff. No, there we are. We switched up again. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by Tim. We're coming to you live from Carter County, Tennessee. It is Sunday, September the 18th, 2022. We're so glad to have you with us. Dalton's already in the chat saying he's got a new job at the liquor store and it's been great. I bet you meet all kinds of interesting people working at the liquor store. I have met people not even working there.
I have always been nice to the liquor store person, so just hoping to have many customers like me.
Yep. I've always enjoyed conversing with the liquor store person. I usually like asking them a bunch of stupid questions. They probably get annoyed by me, but
you better try everything in there.
Yeah.
And then you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, don't do that, but maybe, because people are going to ask.
I guess it just depends on, yeah, that's the thing. You're going to have people asking you stuff, people like me, so.
So your boss will give you like a research account?
Yeah. I try not to be annoying about it, Dalton, so hopefully if I come in your liquor store, you won't get too pissed off. Hey, if you're not subscribed to the show, I've noticed only about 60% of our viewers are subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, hit that button there. Get your notifications turned on so you'll know when we go live. You don't have to go through your browser to find it. And then even if you can't watch the show live, you'll have on your subscriptions tab, when you open the YouTube app or the YouTube program or in your browser, whatever it is you do, you'll have that there so you can see the show and you don't have to click through your home and find it, because that's the way most of y'all find it, is through going to home on YouTube and then it popping up because you've watched it before. But if you'll subscribe, it'll make it a lot easier to find and a lot easier to catch the live shows. So we'd appreciate that. I'd like to also tell you to give us an email at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com. Let us know what you'd like to see on the show. Let us know what you think about what we talk if you don't feel like putting it in the chat there. We've also got these stickers we'll throw your way. We'll send 2 of them your way for $5 if you'll email us at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com. I'll tell you how to do that. Appreciate everybody that's done that so far.
The app is coming soon. We're about 2 months away from having the Iron Mountain app.
Is that right? Tim's been working on something.
Well, it's all a part of our sponsorship deal. We're looking into some tech sponsorship, but at the same time, we're still sticking with Tammy. She's loyal. Things are getting a little weird, if I'm being honest. I don't want to call Tammy out online, but I'm a little bit Tourette'sy, so I guess I have to say things when they come to my mind. She's coming up with some pretty weird ideas, and but she's agreed on part, like, if you'll kind of like, to sum it up, hey, if you'll do some of my really weird ideas, I'll throw a lot more money at you. So why don't you tell us about the email you got today, Cliff?
So this is a pretty big deal. We knew we were having a surprise from Tammy. We didn't know exactly what it was, but we got the details finally, and we knew it was going to be a fall-themed product, and
it was.
I found out today that Tammy's releasing Pumpkin Spice Pete. That's right. Tammy's Artisanal Toys. It's going to be it's fall in the air, and soon fall can be in you, if that's what you're into. They've got a pumpkin spice flavor, and that gives you a refreshing taste and scent of pumpkin spice, if that's what you're into. So all you ladies out there,
makes me think of the movie with the big jack-o'-lantern headed thing chasing you around. Do you remember that?
Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead. There you go. Yeah, I was thinking it was jack-o'-lantern head, but that's the B. That's like the D version.
Right.
The Pumpkinhead. I'm not sure I can get on board with this stuff, Tammy, but I do like it has the Pete and the repeat button on there. That's interesting. I don't know what they do, but there is a Pete and a repeat button on the device. I'm going to call it a device because
it is a device.
Show you.
yeah, YouTube won't let us show it, but you can use your imagination. You can imagine a gourd-shaped object. You know, there's some longer gourds out there, and this is one of those. And
Swan squash almost.
Yeah. So definitely be sure and give Tammy's Artisanal Toys a check, and be sure don't go to Tammy's Dildos. Since the lawsuit, we don't need that. So
I'm tired of Belarusian hackers trying to get into our account. But, that's what that company is out of. We've also got, well, like I said, we're moving into big tech. Part of the thing was since we're having an app coming up, but it kind of turned out that it was going to be like an MLM, because it was a crypto scam, and so we got burnt on that one.
Yeah,
so
we had to back out. Dalton's in the chat. I hope you like working at that liquor store. He says, what do you guys prefer to drink?
Amaretto.
Amaretto. I'm not a big amaretto person. I like amaretto flavored ice cream. I'm kind of straight. I like a platinum vodka that I put on here. That's my favorite vodka. It doesn't really taste like anything.
Like 3 olives, pretty good when it comes to vodka.
I mean, it tastes more like vodka. Whereas platinum just kind of tastes like nothing, so I kind of like that.
Okay.
And then as far as whiskey, I am a George Dickel man. The more expensive George Dickels, the better. I do like regular George Dickel fine, though. I'm not so much of a Jack Daniels person. It's a little sour for me.
I like Maker's Mark better.
I love Maker's Mark. That's a good one, too.
There's a couple of there's a weird liquor that you can get. It's called Peg Leg Porter.
I've seen it, but I've never tried it.
If you're into something weird for a night, it's interesting. It kind of tastes like, and they may even do this, it's something like where they put the liquor in another kind of barrel that may be like brandy barrels or something like it. It's got a bit of a funk to it, but if you're looking for something interesting, Peg Leg Porter's interesting.
Did you like that bourbon barrel ale?
Did I have that?
I don't know. There's some kind of Kentucky ale that they put in age in bourbon barrels, and Dustin really liked it. I didn't really care for it. Hey, I like Wild Turkey. That's good stuff too, Sean. Thank you for joining us. Sean says he's painting the house and listening. All right.
What about
Appreciate it.
I like Wild Turkey. If I'm doing turkey, I'm doing 101. Do they do a lighter version now that I'm thinking of it, or is it all 101?
They do a regular wild turkey, and then they do a wild turkey. Is it 101 or 100? I don't remember, but either way, I like both of them.
I like Southern Comfort quite a bit, and I actually like the 90 on the Southern Comfort too, the black label.
I used to like Southern Comfort. I used to like to drink Southern Comfort with Dr. Pepper.
Oh,
thought it went really well together. You know, there's nice caramelly notes in both of them, and sweetness in the Southern Comfort. When I drink liquor now, though, I tend to like just straight liquor. I do like I like vodka. The reason I like the stuff like the Platinum is because I like to mix that with like a cranberry juice or a Red Bull. I think it goes really well with that. Dalton says he's sold a lot of Southern Comfort already, and Sean says he does 86, and there's 86 and 101. Hey, and so they like the Southern Comfort up there in PA, huh, Dalton? That's interesting.
I enjoy some Southern Comfort. That's I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's probably not popular to say being from Tennessee, but I don't care for the flavor of the things that are more Jack Danielsy. Like I'll drink Jack Daniels. I'm not so bougie that I'm not going to take Jack Daniels if that's what's available. But that's not one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. Like I said, I'm not big on it, especially when you know you're not paying premium price for it or anything. But it's a mid-range, I'd guess, liquor.
You do other places though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess around here we're used to getting Jack Daniels.
You go other places, and that's what they're looking for too. So the price goes up on it. It's like behind the counter up. You know, right here it's it's not really. I think that's got like Nike. You think maybe they're selling the name?
Maybe.
So.
Yeah, Sean says he got sick drunk from Southern Comfort when he was 23, and never again. Man, I had
yourself on it.
Yeah, man, I had for what was it? I can't even remember now. For the longest time, I drank some Barton's vodka, I think is what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. I couldn't.
The bottom shelf. $6.
Yeah, man, I was like 16 or 17, and we got our friend's older sister to buy us some, and I had never drank liquor before, and dude, we drank like 3 of us drank a half gallon, and. It was one of those things where we were drinking it mixed with orange juice, and then you get drunk and you stop tasting the liquor, so you're like, "Whoa, look! I can fill my cup up and just put a little orange juice." Yeah, yeah. So, dude, I got so sick, and I didn't drink vodka for a long time after that. Probably 10 years after that, and probably more actually. Probably more like 15. Vodka's a recent indulgence of mine.
Mine would be Evan Williams, the white label.
Yeah.
We just had a bad night with it one time, and I threw up a lot, and I just can't bring myself to do Evan Williams anymore.
Dude, do you remember the Old Heaven Hill 100? Have you ever? I've not seen it in liquor stores around here. Well, there used to be a 100 proof Old Heaven Hill around here, and I've not seen it in a long time. But a friend of mine, growing up in high school and young adulthood, he used to drink a lot of that stuff, and he was a pretty good drinker. I mean, he was a tall guy, but he was skinny. He was probably about 6'2", 6'3", and he was real skinny. But he could pound that stuff. He could drink a fifth of 101 liquor, which everybody was always impressed by him doing, when we were high school and young adults. And he came over to my house one day, my apartment. We were probably, 21, 22, and we'd been camping and got back, and he had a pint or a half pint, I don't remember which, of Old Heaven Hill 100, and he got the bright idea he's going to show off and chug the whole thing, so because he could drink a fifth a day, so he knew he'd be okay. But it's not the same as when you drink it all at once, and he downed it, and next thing you know, he was sitting on my couch passed out, and all of a sudden he just slides his ass out like this and just pisses all over my rug with his butt hanging off the couch. And then he passed back out after he did that, and we were trying to wake him up and couldn't wake him up. We took some shaving cream, put on his hand, and tickled his nose. And like nefarious schemes often do, this one worked, but not exactly the way we wanted it to, because he didn't quite smack his nose. What he did was rub his eyes with shaving cream and rub the shaving cream all the way in his eyes, and he got up running around the house. So it worked, but not quite how we wanted. We felt pretty bad about it after that, even though he did piss on my rug. I figured we call it even at that. Dalton says, my first time getting drunk, my 21st birthday, I puked the bed from Captain Morgan's coconut rum. Oh, man. Yeah, that was probably the second time I got drunk, Dalton, was on Captain Morgan's Parrot Bay. A bunch of us guys that were on the wrestling team in high school, we listened to Jimmy Buffett a lot, and then we'd sing
aggressive.
Yeah. We would sing Jimmy Buffett on the way home from wrestling matches, I would start singing in the bus, and nobody ever told me to shut up, and eventually everybody started singing with me, and that was our drink whenever we got to the weekends, and we'd drink Parrot Bay. So yeah, I had that experience too there, Dalton. But yeah, long story short, that's what we like to drink. What you like to drink, stick it in the chat.
I have a weird story I had to get out of my head before it. Once upon a time, I think it was early 20s. It's back during the days when MMA was not really legal. I think it was legal in all states at this point, but you didn't have like a school everywhere, you know. So if you wanted to train MMA, you actually had to go to individual train judo here and all stuff. I went to one of the very first places. I'll leave out names and stuff. That was even within driving distance around here, just because I was looking for something to get all the out of me. So I thought, you know, maybe I'll get this out of me. Wasn't ever looking to go pro or anything. Never even wanted to fight, actually. I just wanted to find somebody to do some sparring with, because I had so much energy in me and I didn't know how to get it out. But I went to a gym one time because the guy, he was like, "Yeah, you can come watch." He's like, see if the flow of the gym is something that you think you can get with, because, you know, that's really important. That made sense. I was like, yeah, sure. So I go down there, and the first thing when I walked in, it's just burned into my head. Walked into the door, and here's just the mats everywhere. Just 100% dudes. Smells like straight sweat. I expect this. And Duhas just Duhas. And I'm sitting there thinking, is this like a gay cult?
It could have been. But
I walked in, it was doing it.
That's hilarious.
That was a funny memory.
Oh man, that was back before probably that, you know, MMA took off like it did, and you know, I've not been in a fight since, you know, I was a very young adult. But I don't know that I would really want to now that everybody knows that you can punch somebody in the jaw and knock them out. You know, not everybody knew that back, you know, in the younger days, like some of us did, but now everybody knows that. Dalton says Tim's first day at the male nude gym. Yeah, that's the origin of Tim there.
The first day I walked into the male nude, the male nude gym, they were playing Power Man 5000. So similar,
yeah, but
message.
A lot more. They should have called it Power Top 5000. Yeah, dude, man, I got a piece of steak in my teeth. I didn't eat anything. I ate some bacon this morning for breakfast, and then I didn't eat anything till right before we started. I made a big steak, and I got it stuck in my teeth. It's aggravating me.
Such a man, you had to eat steak for the energy.
That's right.
Libertine.
Yeah. Yep. I told you I was going to try to be eating more meat and less starch, so I just had a little bit of broccoli with it.
Have you actively done anything to your diet? Because since we last spoke, I have not done anything to my diet.
Yeah, I've cut out some. I stopped eating potatoes as much and everything. You know, like, I mean, of course, I still have some starch and I have bread on my sandwich, you know, at work. Because, I mean, all I'm going to do is eat a whole thing of lunch meat. I mean, I guess I could. But yeah, I guess I could. But no, I've cut it out some. Like I said, I didn't have any potatoes with big steak tonight.
Sodium.
It does. It's loaded with it.
So
yeah, it's probably not real good for you.
Stop me.
Yeah. No, you need sodium in your diet. You need iodine too. That's one thing that's like a lot of people only get it from salt, but apparently, if you listen to Alex Jones and his well, he sells a product called Survival Shield X2, and it's a deep earth sourced iodine that is not bonded. Okay, apparently the reason you get iodine poisoning is because of whatever whether it's potassium iodide or whatever, it bonds to the iodine, and that's what actually poisons you, is when you have too much of those other things bonding with it. It's not the iodine itself. So this is a pure iodine, and it's a nascent iodine.
You ever eaten a lot of shrimp at a Chinese buffet?
Yeah, but that's got potassium iodine in it. Yeah, I remember the, what was it, 8 Ball and MJG song where he sings out, "I ate so many shrimp, I got iodine poisoning."
Oh, the one I've got was from that movie Go.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I remember the movie. I don't remember watching anything about it.
Happened to come across it on Tubi or something. It's worth watching. But it's a pretty funny movie. But there was the guy tells him not to eat too much iodine shrimp, and I think he poops himself at the strip club or something.
Oh man.
So that's how funny that is. Like car commercials and stupid stuff like that. Here, you know not to eat iodine shrimp or whatever because of a rap song, and I know because of a comedy.
Yeah.
I think the education system needs to work differently.
Yeah, for real.
I think everything just needs to be taught through sitcoms.
But dude, I'll tell you what, I've been taking that iodine. A friend of mine gave it to me, and it does help with mental clarity. It does give you a burst of energy if you take a drop under your tongue, and it has also cleared up my skin. I've had blemishes on, like a pock marks on my skin that I've had since I was 18, that since I started taking that stuff have been going away. One of my scars on my face where my brother speared me with a broom when I was probably about 16. No, I was about 14, I guess. Me and my brother got in a fight, and I, was older than him, so I punched him a handful of times. Or no, I punched him one time and he ran off, and then next thing I know, I seen his head poke around the corner. I was like, what's he up to? And then he came around the corner with a broom and speared it at me, hit me right below my eye. But that scar, that was, you know, from, I don't know, how old am I now? 25 years ago, and the scar is going away after, you know, I started doing that. So, definitely iodine has been good for me.
You take just iodine?
Yeah, it's just a drop of nation iodine. It's mixed with.
Well, I don't think the iodine's bad, because why did they start putting iodine in salt?
Yeah, well, that's why they do it.
Doing something.
No, that's why they do it, because so many people were getting diseases because they were iodine deficient. So that's why they started putting the salt, and that's the way most people get their iodine, and that's the only way most people get their iodine. So my buddy was telling me all about it, and I tried it, and dude, he came in one day and he was like vibrating, and I was like, dude, what did you do? Are you all right? And he's like, dude, I took a whole drop of that iodine. And I was like, dude, you're gonna die. he's like, no, man. He's like, if it doesn't, it's not bonded to anything, that's what kills you. I'll be fine. And I guess he was, but dude, I take one drop of it, and it makes a noticeable difference and gives me a bit of a rush. No, you probably don't need to. You're a little bit too intense already. If you took a drop of iodine, you'd probably.
Yeah, and it's just, I spend more time trying to find ways to guide my energy towards things.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's like if you have like a military wall and they're sieging, and you have one cannon that just won't stop firing. All the other ones are systematic. You know what you're doing, but there's one over here just going wild. And you just need every now and then somebody just needs to go there and make it at least shoot into the water where it's not going to hurt anybody. Or if it's got a target, you know, full force, that thing's your friend.
Well, that's kind of how the iodine does. Is it helps me to focus and apply my energy, not so much that it gives me energy. Yeah, it does help with the focus a little bit. So maybe we're trying for you. I don't know I don't want to give anybody any kind of nutritionary or nutritional or dietary advice, but
Next week, Cliff's iodine.
but it does good for me. Dalton says we grew a few hundred potatoes this year.
What, you gonna make vodka?
Yeah, they could make some potato vodka.
I would actually rather just put them in a pan and fry them.
Did you happen to watch that video about scaling the true power of Bill Dotrieve that I sent you?
I went back and watched the
You watched the other two?
I was like, well, he just sent me a video that YouTube keeps recommending, so I guess I'll start at the beginning.
Those are pretty cool. If you go to YouTube on MIC Studios channel, you can watch power scaling of the King of the Hill characters. He's done Bill and Dale and Hank so far. Yeah, it's good. I was telling Tim I like to do it. Changing strings on a guitar, cleaning guns, whatever it is you may be doing that, you know, you're sitting in one place for a while and you know, want a little background noise or want something funny while you're watching it. But basically he takes the King of the Hill characters and does a power scaling video on him, like, you know, people do on anime, and determine who's stronger than who. And Dale is probably, what do you say, the top in all of fiction, the top most powerful character in all of fiction. You just have to watch the video. And Bill is the top 5, and Hank, I think, is number 2 in all of fiction. Stronger than Goku, stronger than anybody in anime and all Marvel Super Universe, Marvel Universe. So pretty
Dale
cool
is
video.
so one of the things that I think so, like, you can find so many references in King of the Hill that lets me know that it's like there's certain shows that you can watch and you can tell that the people are just trying to make a show. There's other shows you can watch and you can tell that the people that created it are actually kind of connected to the.
Oh yeah.
Kind of have their thumb on the pulse.
For sure.
Like Gumball is probably one of the most connected kids shows you can watch.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, King of the Hill, there's some stuff they hid in there that I just think is. Like, you just knew that these were normal, weird dudes that were writing this, because, do you know Ashita Kim? Do you know who Ashita Kim is?
I don't think so.
Ashita Kim was, if you used to buy, and this is the internet lore, this is why I know the judges, whoever were writing King of the Hill, were doing the same things that we were doing when we were kids. If you would buy a comic book back in the early 80s and stuff, well, you get all the way into the early 90s, all the way in the back of it, there'll be, like, ads for, like, crazy stuff on, like, that Oriental shopping trading posts and stuff. There'd be, like, a book that would teach you how to meditate and
how to make a hovercraft out of a vacuum cleaner.
Crazy stuff. And there was a
survival knife.
You could find an ad in the back of those. The earliest ones was Count Dante, but we'll do that another time. That's a funnier story. But you could find one. Well, it was through Count Dante, but later on through the internet, you could find a guy named Ashita Kim, and that's how these guys, because he used the same thing. There's a guy named Ashita Kim. Forget the conflict connection. It's there. It's too short. Gotta condense it.
Okay, good.
Ashita Kim would sell a series of videos teaching you how to do different ninjutsu techniques. And Ashita Kim looked like if you went to Walmart and found a tall, skinny white dude and just nothing special about him. His name's Ashita Kim, number 1. I mean, it's like, just like not even the correct Asian names you would put together. I think one of them's Korean and the other one's Japanese. So he obviously didn't know anything about Asian culture. And he would teach you how to do ninja techniques. And one of the ones they hid in Dell was the pocket sand.
Yeah.
That's an Ashita Kim technique.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
He would like almost every technique Ashita Kim would have would be sneak up behind them, or the actor, sneak up behind the actor, and when they turn around, throw pocket sand in their face and then hit them in the nuts or something. And I just thought that when I saw that the first time, it was like a repeat of it. I didn't get it when the first time I watched it. When I realized that Dale Gruber had pocket sand, I was like, Mike Judge knows
must
about
have seen that, yeah.
Kim, he has to.
I watched it. Oh, I can't remember what it is now. I watched a video or watched a movie the other day. It was probably a couple weeks ago. That the final fight, the guy that's got his ass saved by using pocket sand. So yeah, well, we've been talking for a bit already. I can't believe it's been 25 minutes already. So thank y'all for joining us. I want to get into real quick. We haven't done a local history story in a while, so I'll do a little bit. We've talked before about the state of Franklin and where that really came from, and it started off in the town of Jonesboro in Tennessee. A lot of people in Tennessee, now we've got to remember this area where we live was part of North Carolina at the time, and North Carolina basically didn't want to be responsible for anything on the western side of the mountain, so they ceded the land to the federal government, and that left the people over here kind of in a predicament because they didn't have any of the protections of the government for, you know, to deal with the Indians and I mean, this was right when the revolution was going on, so basically they still had, you know, you had the French and the Spanish and the English still around, so you didn't really want to be called out on your own as a small town of English colonists in this who had basically, or who were seen to have rebelled against the crown. So the people who lived in Jonesboro, which is the oldest town in Tennessee, they founded that in 1779, I think, and they started creating the state of Franklin. We've talked to John Sevier before, how he was a hero of the Over Mountain Victory Trail and the Battle of Kings Mountain, and he was basically, they said he was elected, but basically he never asked to run, but the people of what would be or attempt to be the state of Franklin, they said, hey, we need you to run for us and be our governor. So they attempted to do this thing, and it didn't really go too well for them. They had constitutions that didn't quite add up to one another. They had one that was a really religious constitution, basically wanted it to be a religious republic or a religious state, you know, theocratic state, and another that was a more liberal state or a more secular state. What's that?
A movie called Theocracy. It's a comedy in the style of Idiocracy, where liberals take punches at you know, like maybe the president's a giant pope with a giant pecker. I'm not.
No. I'm surprised. No, I'm surprised that you're right. I'm surprised that's not out there.
Comedy Central would have made like 2012 or something.
Yeah. Well, John Sevier, he basically, as this was going on, he didn't really want to be the governor of the state of Franklin, but he felt a sense of duty to the people who, to the people who lived here and who had asked him to do it. So he went ahead and did it anyway, and he fought as hard as he could to get the state of Franklin done. Now, there was forces loyal to North Carolina over here. Colonel John Tipton, he had a farm over there in Johnson City, and they actually kidnapped a bunch of John Sevier's slaves, and he and his men went over to take them back and ended up getting captured. And when he got to, you know, start to go to court, the judges that he went under had fought with him at the Battle of Kings Mountain. So they never really, it wasn't that they dropped the charges, they just never went through with the charges, for the prosecutors didn't actually bring them. And they failed several times to get the state into the Union. Basically, they had a state that they were trying to run as a state, but it didn't really work out too well. And they tried to apply to the federal government. They actually appealed to Benjamin Franklin rather than actually doing it the legal way and going through Congress to create a new state. they sent a representative up, and he just went to talk to Benjamin Franklin, and they were like, he's like, look, dude, we want to name our state after you. Once you petition all the people you know up here in Washington to let it happen.
Robbing to go with
Yeah,
a mouthpiece.
yeah, because we're going to name it after you. And Franklin, of course, saw right through this. He was a pretty brilliant guy. If you've ever read anything about him, this guy was a certified genius.
I read he was like the first furry, essentially. But go ahead.
I mean, it could be. But he was a candle maker. He would have had access to everything he needed to do to make his own furry suit.
Out of wax.
Well, I mean, wax and wick, the cotton wick. But they went to Franklin, and Franklin, knew what the game was and was
Cosplayer.
Yeah.
I think that's a better one. That's not even taking a poke at anybody. I think that would be an accurate way of saying it, because when he would go meet with people, they said he would dress like them to feel, which is probably more like I don't know, psychological tactics to get. No. Not saying smart doesn't also make you not.
No, I mean, yeah, he's one. If you fit in with people, it's a lot easier to gain their trust, and it's a lot easier to
get laid.
Yeah, that too. Or get them to loan you money.
Franklin was a horn dog
in the Hellfire Club.
Well, he had that haircut. That wasn't baldness. He was shaving it back so his hair wouldn't get in his eyes.
Oh, I was going to say something really dirty there, but I'm gonna keep it to myself there. But it was about friction on Franklin's hair causing him to be bald from all his time in the Hellfire Club. But yeah, so they went to Franklin, and Franklin was like, "Yeah, I know what you're doing. I've heard about your efforts, and I wish you good luck. But I think the place is called Frankland." So took a little jab at him there, and anyway, it just fell apart after that, and they didn't actually come across it, but there was a lot of the remnants of it in Greenville and in the area of Washington County and Carter County, Tennessee. It only lasted 4 years, but the people in northeastern Tennessee seceded from North Carolina in 1784. Now, more than 3,000 people still hold certificates saying their ancestors were residents of Franklin, and it formed 12 years before Tennessee. And they started it at Tipton Haynes, basically, as they started bringing the families of state of Franklin certification to try to bring people out of the park. But then a lot of people were interested in it, and I think it was, well, let's use Tom Hodges' words. He's the editorial director of the Johnson City Press and the group's first member. He said the independent spirit of Franklinites still exists in the region. I think it's a carryover from the same kind of mentality to want to secede from North Carolina. Now, again, they didn't actually, Franklin didn't want anything to do with the state, and they, took John Sevier captive, and that kind of ended it. When you take the governor of the state captive, it's, kind of hard, especially if it's not an official state, to even keep it going there. So that's what happened to it. And actually, it was kind of independent from the state of Tennessee, even, because this part of this Tennessee state, they sided with the Union, and the rest of the state sided with the Confederacy. And actually, the first abolitionist publication was started in Jonesboro. Now, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's the oldest town in Tennessee. Started in 1779.
Named after John Sevier.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they tried in 1959 to James H. Quillen. The Quillen Medical Center there.
Yes.
He was a representative in the Tennessee State House, or in the Congress from Tennessee, and he introduced a bill for Franklin to secede from Tennessee. And no, this was when he was in the State House, Jimmy Quillen, but it failed, and he felt like the state line stopped at Knoxville, and that was its own area. That's the area that's tried to be state of Franklin was
the area Knoxville over is it really is way.
It's like a different state.
It really is way different than the rest of Tennessee.
Yeah, once you get too close to the Cumberland Gap, and then Cumberland Gap specifically on to the west, it's a lot different. Actually, Tennessee, I think they say something about 3 different states. We've got East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and West Tennessee, and they all have their own different characteristics. But the middle is a lot more similar to the west than it is to the east, in my opinion. All right, so that is the state of Franklin.
That's not when you had that bottle one go through. It's like, really? Jeez.
Oh, yeah, you were wondering what that was, weren't you? Let's look here. Tim says 1 goose. Can we just gas 1 goose?
Just start with one.
Well, we'll have to talk to the people of the Hunters Lake community there in Johnson City and see what we can get them to do.
Just one.
Well, we're gonna
You can even eat it.
Do you want to eat gassed goose?
If you gassed it with what's something you could gas it with that would kill it, but not nitrogen or something?
Maybe.
Smother 1 goose. We have to gas it. Pillowcase. Headlock. 1 goose
Jeez.
for Christmas, and then we can charge the neighborhood for the 1 goose tournament.
They already got their permit, so they
gassing.
could go ahead and gas it. And I mean, the only reason they didn't gas them because the community or the surrounding community turned against them. Yeah, they were going to gas those motherfuckers. So I'm sure they still got the permit. They probably got the gas already. So maybe we could hit them up about that.
Yeah, I don't really want to kill a goose.
No, we know you don't.
I think they're pansies, and if you make a motion like that, you should follow through with it.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't be scared of geese either. That's also very pansy-like behavior.
Anything that comes out of Canada. That one remark right there is going to somehow cause a butterfly effect and turn Canada to make them have the world's most powerful military.
Well, I'm sure you've seen videos. If you're into this kind of content, you've probably seen over the years stuff about subliminal messaging, and you've probably seen actually a lot of unintentional misinformation on that subject, because I think a lot of people see things that are, less noticeable and say, oh, that's subliminal messaging. Like, one thing that really immediately comes to mind is, well, let's look at these right here. This is a real common one. We've got FedEx logo right here. And that's a common one for people to point out. And I show you the arrow right here. But that's not really subliminal. That would be more of a supraliminal message.
Call it more like clever marketing.
Yeah, because a subliminal message is something that you don't realize that you're seeing.
They don't really want you to find it, is the whole point.
Yeah.
Want your subconscious to catch it, and then you move on. Whereas the FedEx logo, it's just clever. It's got a little arrow in there, represent they're on the move.
And they do want you to see it. They want you to notice it. For example, like here's another one, the Wendy's logo. They actually changed it to make it look like it said M-O-M, mom. So you'd be looking at Wendy as mom.
Nice.
But it's still, that's supraliminal because it's right there for you to see, and you're just.
I think that's more subliminal than the FedEx.
That one is, yeah.
Doesn't, unless you want to get crazy with the arrow, and the mom thing, that is subliminal, because the normal person's not going to look at that and pick out mom.
Well, maybe not, but you probably normally aren't going to see that arrow either, but you're still seeing that. I guess it is more subliminal.
I'm just saying, like, the FedEx, when you find it, you go, oh, clever marketing. It looks, you guys got an arrow in there. When you see mom, you go, well, you guys are cheeky bastards. You guys are doing something with that, It's not quite as on the nose as the pair of tits in an ice cube, but it's still the same methodology.
Well, let's look at a couple things like that. Hey,
marketing is the main one I know about, is because of psychology classes, and that's kind of scary that's mainly what your job would be if you're not dissecting rat brains or having talk therapy with people, is finding ways to sell people shit they don't need for reasons they don't know.
Like Kent cigarettes. Let's look at this Kent cigarette ad here for a second. Let's take it in all for a second. Where's the focal point of the ad? And I mean, to me, it appears to be this woman's face. The guy's looking at her face. She's got her cigarette right here next to her face, but there's a post. She's leaning against the fence post, and he's leaning on the fence post. And look like it's coming out of the cigarette pack right here. So it kind of looks like, then when it's time to just lean back and relax, you need something you can lean on.
In fact, they're leaning on the Kent.
There's your Kent cigarette that you can lean on and relax. And you also look at if you know something about the color patterns, we've got brown, tan,
that's the color,
light green.
Print.
That could be, but I'm pretty sure that, I've seen other ones because you got the blue right here, so you could have some bright colors, but I think that's intentionally chosen to be comforting, and that's actually, that's what the...
that picture looks like it would smell like an ashtray, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It does.
Well, I'm sure if people hadn't seen it, they can look, and you can find the famous Coke ice cube that has the...
Yeah, we're going to look at that here in a minute.
But there's also one that has a skull in it, too.
We're going to look at that, too, and I've got another skull one for us. This one, though, if you look at the Kent again, if you'll notice another thing here, everything here is like the color of tobacco. You got green, that's, fresh tobacco. Then you've got brown, which is the color of cured tobacco. Her skirt. You got white.
Ashtray.
You got the filter. So you got all the different colors of cigarettes there to make you think about for you to associate with those. So that's a pretty basic one there, but that I think is more of a subliminal one, because
There's a lot of play in there. I agree.
Yeah. It's not as direct as a lot of the ones that get called subliminal.
Yeah, well, the fence thing, like the leaning thing, that is more subliminal than the whatever that one was. I would like to say that if someone out there watching is a smoker and thinks I'm going to take a dump on your habit this whole time, you're wrong. I'm not going to take a dump on smoking. Smoke outside. That is the only. I don't have a problem. I'm in bars all the time. I'm around people. I grew up around smokers.
You know what?
It's just that claustrophobic. Can you imagine if you decided to light a campfire in your house every night? It's the same. There's nowhere for it to go.
Well, dude, I used to smoke, but smoking inside was it was definitely too much for me. And even when I did smoke,
I feel like it's unnecessarily damaging to you at the same time for you to sit there and hot box.
Although I do miss smoking sections at restaurants, because if you ever ate at a smoking section, a restaurant that had a smoking section, because it's been 20 years ago probably that they got rid of those, hasn't it, in Tennessee? But I noticed
it's been a while.
If you were sitting in your restaurant and you'd ordered your food and it had been a while, and you're like, "Where's our food?" You light up a cigarette, they'll bring it right out to you every time. And I always wondered, is that like, are they trying to keep smoke down? I've never talked to anybody that worked in a restaurant back in those days.
I've heard from working people, and the people that were doing the busing and stuff said they missed the smoking section simply because the people in the smoking section had something to do instead of just sitting there like jawing with each other, getting mad because family don't get along. Like a smoker can light up a cigarette and have one before the meal comes, and so the people would actually take better care of the smokers because they were just nicer to them because they had something to be occupied with.
Well, another thing was smoking kept that anxiety down, and that's another thing we're going to talk about in subliminal advertising. And this, there's three things. This is according to, I'm using as a reference here, among other things, but I'm going to draw pretty heavily on darksidesubliminal.blogspot.com, because you used to be able to find a lot of this stuff in mainstream internet sites, as far as actual unique information. Now you pretty much see the same thing on everything, and they all talk about, 1957 there was this guy who did this study, and they found out, if you put these words on the screen, that you could get people to buy Coke at 58% higher and 18% higher on popcorn if you put these messages in movies. And that's what almost every article, if you go on search Google, DuckDuckGo, I don't care what you use, if you do any of the search engines now, that's what's going to come back with, is a bunch of different iterations of that article, or a bunch of different iterations of people talking about that story. There used to be all kinds of YouTube videos about this stuff. I was hoping to find some Lennon Honor Films. I don't know if you ever saw him from back in the day, but he did a great series on decoding the occult symbolism in things like music videos, especially he did one on Rihanna's Umbrella video.
Those are hard to do without getting the copyright stuff, but you could literally just watch some of those videos, and we both of us together could pick them out on the fly with how open they are today.
And he shows you that there's a whole bunch of monsters and stuff like that hidden in them, and he says like it's this big symbolism, this satanic thing that they're trying to influence you with that. But I tend to think that it comes back to more of this anxiety, because when we look at how companies used to sell low nutrition foods, alcohols, tobaccos, basically anything that you don't need, they use anxiety, cravings, and addiction in order to get you to buy those, and that's what they use in their advertising. So if you take a look at this, I'm sure y'all remember the creepy ass king from the Burger King commercials. Remember how creepy he was? And like there was somewhere like you
grew on me.
Well, yeah, he was hilarious, but you see somewhere he like, you wake up and he's in their bed and stuff like this, and it's using this king to play on your anxiety.
You think so? You don't think
I do.
Be bizarre?
No, I do. But I think part of the reason is it's creating feelings of anxiousness. People try to avoid feeling anxiousness, and they try to minimize, moderate, and alleviate anxiety. And they will often consume or buy things to help them to do this. So we want you to associate, when you see something that makes you anxious, like as a man in a mask creepily coming into your bedroom, they want you to associate alleviating that feeling of creepiness, and then they turn him into a comforting figure once you've bought the Whopper, And
okay, so this is some theory here.
Yeah. It's just ideas that I have. And then you have
that was some. I know what you're pulling up there. People, these were some weird commercials. That and the Pop-Tart ones, and there was another one.
Yeah, remember the Pop-Tarts eating each other and
Yeah.
stuff? Oh,
Yeah.
those are weird. See, and that's what I'm talking about. You start, and now on the upper level of your conscious mind, you're just thinking, oh, that's kind of weird and kind of creepy, but at the same time, you're deep down in your brain, you're talking about cannibalism to yourself. That's what you're thinking of. And maybe not on the top level, but...
And you think they did it on purpose? Then?
Yeah, I think so. We got some chats here. Let me catch up. All right, we got Spill says, I'm late but here. Thanks, Spill the tea all over me. So glad to have you. She says she's allergic to cigarettes. I tried to throw up, nose burns. But throw up, nose burns, eyes burns, but I'm thankful. Expensive habit. Yeah, it's a good thing you just didn't start on that, Spill, because
You should try the stick, the pack. I encourage more people just need to get the patch. Don't even start off with it. If you're a young person and you're watching this today, you should just start right off with the patch.
It'll be a lot easier to quit the patch. Well, now maybe if you don't have
21.
Now maybe if you do have the patch, it would make you less susceptible to seeking nicotine craving through a cigarette or something like this.
Slap the patch on there and see what it does.
See, I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 17, 18, and I smoked them till probably 2012, 2013, and I've been smoking this thing almost 10 years. Because it's the whole hand to mouth habit. So maybe if you avoided that and just gave yourself the nicotine, it'd be a lot easier to kick. So,
Maybe.
but
Unless you just enjoyed that nicotine.
yeah, I guess. I mean, it is what you.
Well, I mean, like you're vaping it still, so you're a nicotinist. You enjoy the nicotine.
I enjoy the hand to mouth because I can use
some
use
story
one of these.
Stuff going on.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot easier just to get you a lollipop.
I guess that's true, but I don't.
Nicotine lollipop.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I need.
God, imagine if it tasted like that Kent picture. The lollipop
Yeah.
brown and had like a weird 70s tint to the stick.
Look like a root beer flavored dum dum. Let's get back into this. We got a couple more chats here though. Let me check it. We got Vacant Josh says my food would always come in as soon as I lit a cigarette. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think they did that on purpose somehow. I don't know what it is, but they sure did seem that way. Spill the Tea says habit, LOL, and they speak to the subconscious subliminally. Yeah, and that's the whole point of subliminal messaging, and it's stuff like an example of subliminal messaging might be playing an audio file so low that you can't audibly hear it, but your brain can still detect the vibration and pick it up, even though
it's supposed to be illegal now.
Yeah.
Undertone ones, they used to use them in movies, but you're not supposed to be allowed to do a lot of that anymore. A lot of times what they use now, like a good example would be a casino. All these slot machines all of them, period, they're all in a note that is in the key of G. Mm-hmm. That way, no matter what,
it all sounds harmonious to one.
Specifically a G3,
yeah,
which is the added third note on there because they had some scientific evidence to show that the G3, specifically G3,
that harmony between the G and the major third there, especially if you double up on the major third, it gives it that kind of angelic tone. So
they abuse the G3 in country praise and worship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been known for. I guess they didn't know that until early 2000s, maybe.
No, dude, they've done that for a long time.
Happiest chord.
No, they've done that for a long time.
For a long time, because they were doing that since the 70s.
They were doing it way before that. You go back to court magicians and
the G3 chord. They did scientific studies to figure out it was the happiest chord.
I don't know that they did scientific studies, but I know the court magicians knew how to affect people's mood, and that was how they would actually get their job as a court magician. Back, in the Victorian days, or before that, I guess before the Victorian days, back to the Dark Ages and Middle Ages, they would show their prowess by being able to change the mood of a crowd, and that's what a sorceress or a magician could do. Would be to alter the mood.
Comedian, aka anything that. Man, you ever think about like in the Old Testament? I guess several times in the Old Testament and the New Testament when they talk about when they got rid of all the magicians in the land, soothsayers, and they give this big list of things that whenever it's time for a king to clean up shop, there was a list of people that they got rid of. And every time I look at that list, and the longer I
the minstrels would be one of them.
Well, I thought, think about what you do.
I know.
I mean, you have a day job, but at the same time, you're sitting here talking on a camera, directing people's opinions on some level. So I mean, it's like, and you're a musician. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like it's like any person that does something like that. I'm like, are we
next on the chopping block
when they finally make the big purge because we do the devil dance or whatever.
Yep.
You can affect people.
Well, one of the things that, according to author Martin Lindstrom, some companies that sell low nutrition foods deliberately spike the recipes to include addictive quantities of habit-forming substances like MSG, caffeine, corn syrup, sugar. They did a study, Paul J. Kinney, he's a PhD, did a study where rats were fed high-fat and high-calorie foods, and they showed that they affect the brains in much the way as cocaine and heroin. They give you a rush of dopamine and serotonin.
Quicker crash.
Yeah. And doing drugs like cocaine, eating too much junk food, both gradually overload the pleasure centers in the brain, and eventually they crash. And if you want, that's where you get the chasing the dragon thing. If you want to get that same level, and whether it be for drugs or food or whatever it is, you have to have more of it. And the advertisers, they capitalize on that. Jimmy Brooks says, "Damn, late again." Well, better late than never, Jimmy. And you can always check the replay, but jump on in that chat and tell us what you think about some of this stuff. The brain of the food addict is predisposed to respond differently to addictive foods due to dopamine receptor deficiencies, and that addictive foods stimulate and increase the transmission of neurotransmitters dopamine and serotonin. Well, that's what I just said. Look at me. I could be
Problem with them.
Cade Shepard.
But the point is, they're taking advantage of stuff.
Basically, they're taking advantage of your craving, and what they're doing is they're giving you anxiety in order. Okay, like this for here. Are you making your children pay for your weight problem? If you're trying to lose weight by stocking the house with sugarless drinks, remember one thing, your children will drink them too. Their thirst craves anything that's cold and wet, but they'll never get energy from artificial sweetener. So that's giving you that anxiety. You're a bad parent if you don't give your kids sugar in their soda. And then it says sugar quenches fatigue, 18 calories per teaspoon, and it's all energy, Tim.
I agree. This podcast brought to you by 100% sugar water. That's my only health issue that I have is sugar. Is all these other things, as far as like subliminal marketing, get me to eat wouldn't work because I'm not a foodie. But it's obvious that most people are. They have an irresistible craving for stuff.
And here's another way they do it, and I think this ties into what you were talking about with the skull, which we'll get into here in just a minute. But we got this one from Reese's. Do not deny your dark side. It's a dark chocolate, and it's kind of like the temptation there, you know, tempting you to.
If this is just a right-wing conspiracy, they're trying to get us to have sex with more black people.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't that be funny if that was the only thing I ever said that turned out to be true?
Oh man.
that ad was trying to get people to have interracial sex.
Oh yeah, well, I guess that could be. But I don't want to stick on that too much. But that's kind of the same thing that we get in cigarette advertising, which has got a lot of gone to the wayside. But that's the way we get with.
When was that Reese Cup ad? Can you kind of look at that and find out why? Because that's just funny that's like your dark side. That's like some cheeky advertising.
Let's do a reverse image search here.
Like, I just wonder, like, that seems a little old to me because, like, some of the stuff's just not really that risky anymore. Like, ooh, your dark side.
Oh no, that's old. But it's the whole idea is, yeah, it's an older one for sure.
Yeah,
but
well, just one in the year. I figured it was.
Let's see here. They've also got "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark." Let's see.
That's a decent show when I was a kid, but that could be shit. I don't remember.
No, I liked that. Hey, look. Somebody's saying exactly that.
Is that what they're saying?
Yep.
Seriously?
Suggestiveness as a sinfulness associated with the consumption of chocolate, or they got the two black hands there.
I am the internet.
The ad seems to give the viewer permission to indulge because it's perfectly dark. And I wasn't even looking for like subliminal advertising or anything here. This is just somebody's.
My brain's broken. I always try to think of what crazy people are going to think, and I was like, "There's no way somebody out there doesn't think that ad is trying to encourage."
Well, you tapped right into the first thing I got when I got when I did the reverse image search on it. Unfortunately, I'm not able to find from this
that's fine.
where the original thing was.
I would just like to make the point that I am the internet, though.
Spill the tea all over me says, I think if you bring up in court you have a high junk food diet, they take that into consideration in your state of mind. Well, it would affect it. Let's look at a couple other ones these are not so obvious. See, this is what I'm talking about. They call this subliminal advertising in this ad, or this article. This is not subliminal advertising. This is overt sexualization, which is also used
shocking
to great effect. but if we go down here, we do have another example of a subliminal exercise. So let's look at this right here, and everybody look at that for a second. I'm going to put it up here. 2, 1. All right. Now we're going to go down a little bit, and we're going to go to another section of letters. And if you noticed on that one, you might have noticed that the O was black right there.
Another thing trying to get us to have more black people in the world.
The O was darker there, bold. And you go down here, and we look, and we think first to see your eyes drawn to the E, which is where the O was, and it's bolden too. But they also changed one other thing. They changed the word duck to fuck.
That's the first thing I saw.
And they also made the word pain in here.
I didn't see pain.
And what was the other one? They got another one in here somewhere. I don't know. Let's read the article
Yeah, I
here.
said duck and rain. I didn't even notice the words at first. I just saw the...
6. They put 6 in here somewhere. Oh yeah, right up here. If you look right here, they put it upside down. They changed it so that makes 6 now. So what they did.
And gay people.
Now this was part of an experiment right here. These two things, because they showed them to different people, right? And the people who they showed the first one to or the second one too, that contained the E and made it say fuck, pain, and sex, they were far more likely. The experiment was reported in the Journal of Psychology in 1976, and they showed that looking at them for a maximum of 2 seconds, it was enough time for people to scan the whole image but not really realize what they were seeing for the most part. Mm-hmm. And the ones who saw the ones with the letter E, they had them write a story about him, and the people who looked at the second figure that had the sex, fucking, pain in it, they were more likely to write stories with conflict, loss, uncertainty, and violence, and they used more unpleasant language compared to the other group. And this strongly suggests that it's the subconscious level. Students who had seen the provocative words were later emotionally reacting to them while engaged in a situation that was not really related to any of those words. It was, they write about a picture showing some mundane activity, but they would say, hey, look at this picture and write a story about it. And the people who saw the ones with the 3 words were more likely to write a darker story. Or
this is from 1976.
Yeah.
Huh. This is a pretty common study as far as like showing people an image and not giving a lot of time with it, and then moving on and giving them another task to see how it influences them. Like they were showing us how to write up studies. Like, which is why I lost my face on that stupid study when it was about the vaccines and stuff. I couldn't even focus on the study, like the actual topic of it, because I couldn't stand how it was written.
Yeah.
Moving on. It's pretty common. One of the studies that I had to observe and then pretty much just write like the way the study would be written about a study that had already taken place was where they would show someone either a picture, which I think the pool of people was like 200, and it's like a picture of a desert versus a picture of like an icy sort of tundra setting, Mm-hmm. And then they would show them that, and then they would give them another task. And I'm wanting to say it was like drinking a cup of tea or holding like like one of those bags that you would heat or something, and then trying to see if they would rate it by touch, colder or hotter than it actually was. So they knew the temperature of it, which I know that some of that gives you into guessing what temperature is. I don't even remember if there was some significant variation or whatever, but they're doing that all the time to see if they can subtly get you to make a decision to go in one way or the other is what they're trying to do. That's marketing, or psychology and marketing.
Oh, I've discovered here if you have a website that wants you to do a sign up to keep reading, if you just refresh it a few times, a lot of times it'll let you through its paywall. But you were talking earlier, I wanted to get into a couple of things, some political ads. Oh, let's look at this one more here, because this one's pretty obvious. But this is a kind of a classic example of what people call subliminal, but this is more of a supraliminal also. If you look right here, you got Imperial, and she's the imp, this character right here. The one thing we suggest is Imperial. It's the one and only imp because it's sort of, impish. It maybe also be the smoothest thing since skin. So what are they wanting you to think about there? They want you to think about this lady's skin, this pretty lady who's looking up at you from below you.
Meanwhile, all the elites are going, boy, that skin would make a good suit.
with her cherry here on top of her glass to make you think about that.
It's near.
And look at here. Let's look here. We've got Pan, the piper here, or the goat boy. But look, he's playing a pipe He's got a long cylindrical object that he's putting into his mouth while this young lady is looking up at you.
If there's anything hidden in the ice
with big eyes. Yeah, I don't know if there is in this one or not, but I do have one to look at for ice cubes. Let's see.
They look to mess with those.
Yeah, they do. We'll let me find one of those.
Just any nonsensical mess of objects like ice cubes, like gravel, mosaic tile.
That's the last thing we're gonna do.
Clouds.
That's the last thing we're gonna do. Give me just a second. Let me find the. Oh man, did I close it out? Maybe I didn't have it. All right, we can find it really quick though. Coca-Cola subliminal ice cream or ice cube. And then I want to show you one. Let's see.
You see the
images, yeah.
Right up, it's so popular.
Yeah. And see, they said this is the one I saw earlier. Look at this.
What is it?
Well, you'll see as soon as I get it pulled up. You won't be able to ignore it.
What if it's the one thing in the world I can't?
Hey, this is actually, I missed this one earlier. This one's actually got some pretty good ones, but let's look at this Coke bottle right here. First we got feel the curves of the Coke bottle, and that's the subliminal message. Really, that one is a subliminal because the Coke bottle is shaped like a woman, kind of like a guitar is, and this is to
said that with more sexual advertising, but the pecker down there hitting the ice cube's pretty obvious. Pretty blatant.
Let's look over here to in the ice cube. We see what's happening right there, but most people's eyes not going to catch that. I mean, it's really not. But at the same time, you know, there's if this stuff didn't work, they wouldn't do it. Is the way I look at it. And I've noticed, I tried to find a picture of it on the internet and I couldn't find it.
If that stuff didn't work, they wouldn't be paying college students to figure it out for them either.
Exactly. And let's look at this one right down here. I meant to look at this one too to see. This is great. This is like a lot of the ones that I had pulled up that I didn't get. Somehow didn't make it to the show program. But let's look at this Benson Hedges ad. Look at his hand right here. You know, it's got a lot of the same stuff going on there. As far as this is your, you know, she's leaning on him, and then but at the same time we have a lot of the sexually suggestive stuff. Like look what he's got right here.
I hit it right.
And it says if you got crushed in the clinch with your soft pack, try our hard pack. So. You can see what they're getting at with us there. But then there's let's see, that one from Heineken. They're putting a butt in there so you can, you know, when you flip that over, you want to smack them cheeks.
And then the Skittles with the S next to the explosion.
Yeah, the sexberry explosion.
The berry sex explosion.
Yeah. I like sexberry better. And then let's look at like Tostitos right here. We got the obvious one. It's like. If you go to the middle, you got the big tit right here in the middle, TIT, but then you also have...
Is that really, like, do you think that's why they're doing it? Because that's supposed to be two dudes, like...
Yeah, you're partying right here. And again, this is not really a, you know, subliminal... Oh, they can't see it. It's not really a subliminal. It's just, you know, using the logo to suggest something to you, like the Tostitos is what you do when you're partying. You, you know, fire up a bowl of Tostitos.
It's not really... This is like a Super Bowl party.
Yeah. But that's what they want you to see from it, and like it's kind of like, you know, bacon and eggs was not really something people ate. Most people around the world, even today, if you tell them you eat bacon and eggs, they're like gross. But back in the early 1900s, you had farmers who had bacon and fat back as a byproduct, right? And it was stuff they didn't have anything to do with, and they put out a commercial saying basically. They put out an ad, a radio ad, and a newspaper ad saying, always start my morning with some bacon and eggs. And it showed like a farmer sitting in his rocking chair. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're all eating bacon and eggs. And it all came from, you know, that ad.
Yeah. And bakey, where did that come from?
Yeah, that's not that old.
I know it's in Kill Bill, but I'm pretty sure that he got
Oh, I've been hearing that since I was a kid.
Oh, was it Full Metal Jacket, probably?
Oh, I don't know. I've been hearing it since I was a kid, though.
Green Acres?
I don't know.
Andy Griffith.
Maybe. Lost in Space? Buck Rogers?
Bacon in the movie of Lost in Space that had Joey in it?
I didn't watch it.
I watched it one time, but I'd never seen the actual Lost in Space, and I was so confused about why this movie was so weird. But
let's look at this Coke ad real quick. And I should have gone to the store and got a picture of one of this, but I couldn't find any of them on the internet. But that's pretty obvious what that one is. But it's on all kinds of gas stations around our area. I don't know if it is where you live or not, but there's all kinds of gas stations. They have a Coke poster on the wall, and it will show a girl looking up at the camera, and she's got a Coke bottle right here, like she's looking up at you from about waist height with the big hog
About
Coke
to drink
bottle.
your Coke bottle.
Your Coke bottle hog. But yeah, so there's lots of different examples of that, and again, that kind of is more that's more of an overt one. But then let's look at the 7-inch Whopper here.
Yeah, sexual advertisement, they don't even need to hide. But like when they hide it in something and they don't want you to find it, that's when it's more subliminal. But
like this one,
that was a whole ad campaign where it was just basically girls eating burgers really disgustingly.
well, and this one is pretty over the top
Yeah, I guess
here.
would be
The 7-inch cheeseburger from the Super 7-incher from Burger King. It'll blow your mind away.
It's basically out of a porn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're not tricking anybody there, Burger King. We know what you're doing, and that actually didn't work. And when those campaigns are too over the top, they don't work.
They don't work.
Yeah, so people don't want to feel like you're trying to trick them, but but people don't like when you try to trick them, but you're so bad at it and so over the top that it makes them feel like you think they're stupid, so they won't buy your product for that. So you got to be more clever than that, Burger King, which they did. They went to the king after
They
that.
really just think that if they sold a 7-inch burger and put a blonde's face on it, that people are going to be like, "Holy crap! Look, she's blowing that burger. I want to eat one."
I could be me.
That could be me blowing that burger.
Oh man. Well, we looked at some of the occult corporate logos, and well, actually, we didn't too much. We'll do that here in just a minute. We pulled them up for a second, but that's kind of I've seen a lot of videos of that over the years, and that's pretty well covered territory.
I will tell you, as a capstone, before you move into the occult ones, if you don't think marketing people are messing with you,
Yeah.
we were required in our lab classes to come up with potential sales pitches, just to practice, because essentially that's what you're going to be doing if you don't do certain things. Big giant part of psychology is being in advertising. And one of the things I came up with was studying sigil magic and how that could be used in advertising. I already probably think it is because it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
But the grad student that was over the class was very enamored with that idea and how that would probably be a good thing for me to bring up with the. And I was just like, that's because that's what they're doing. They're trying to find ways to sell stuff to you.
It's like you're reading my mind, Tim. Now, that's one of the things we're going to close out with, but I want to look at this real quick. This is a political ad. I want to look at a few political campaign stuff to where we can.
Bush.
This is a Bush
That was a
ad.
good campaign.
For-
W.
yeah.
I'm sorry. That was good marketing.
Well, watch this real quick. Did you catch that?
I did.
Let's look at it again. Bureaucrats decide. Let's see if we can go real slow if we can see it. Look right there. That's the most place where people stop it too.
One more. Oh, close.
All right, let's watch real quick.
There.
Rats.
Maybe they-
Let's see if we can play it slow motion. I bet we can. I don't know if it'll be slow enough to matter.
1.5.
Let's go back right here. Rats.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah, that would be the subliminal.
Oh, I guess they can't really hear it. I forgot.
Man, I don't know who he got for his campaign, but like that right there, that's obviously a great idea. But like there's no other president that's ran a campaign. Like, I'm sorry, like in hindsight, having been someone who got tricked into voting for the man, well, at least once, he was a blithering idiot. And they got him elected.
But they use that to get him elected. That's what they like. Can't you relate to this guy? He's a C student. This guy's an idiot.
Maybe that's what they were really doing. I was
Maybe that's
young
why-
at the time that I was just voting Republican.
Maybe that's why he. Maybe that's why he was a C student.
I was in high school.
You might have been.
I don't
18,
remember. My
know.
memory is shit.
You probably would have been 18 in so you probably would have voted for him
I
in
think I voted for him
2004.
the second time.
Yeah.
I didn't vote the first time. No, 9/11 happened.
I didn't actually vote for him, but I supported him because I was like, well, we were in the middle of a war. We might as well let him finish it before we,
I had no reason.
you don't change ships in the middle of the stream or whatever.
I had no reason. I was literally voting because it was Republican. But really, like, it was genius.
Yeah.
It's genius.
It worked. But that's just a real quick example of how it's commonly used in there. Here's another one I want to do. It's a little less
Big enemy of the
in
show.
your
She
face.
hates Cliff. She actually sends some death threats on the reg.
Oh, I'm sure Blair loves me. But this is Blair. She ran for Congress. Blair Walsingham ran for Congress here in our home district, Tennessee 1st District. And she didn't. She,
How long before politicians start boxing?
That's what it looks like she's doing, though, doesn't
Think
it?
about if she'd go up against that Nicole with the denim jacket. Nicole with Wallop, or that girl looks scrappy.
Yeah. But if you see right here, she's ready to fight, and she's got her little fist balled up, but not too bad. Not full fist, but she wants you to know she's taking that jacket off. She's ready to go. And I just kind of noticed, this kind of looks like cock and balls. But
upside down cross.
yeah, maybe that too. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is this our district that should be having?
Yeah, that's our first district here.
Put her pink in there and then do white for the
yeah, you're right.
That's why she lost. Hire me, Blair. I'll get you elected next time.
It's probably because Diana Harshbarger sent out campaign mailers with her holding an AR-15. That'll win the election around here, especially against that. But you can see she's holding her fist there. She's getting ready to go to work. She's ready to fight for the people of her. And that's small little messes that you see. And you see lots of that. And that one example will serve for all of them, I guess, in a lot of the political advertising. But if you remember Bill Clinton, he used to point with his thumb.
That's the most notable one, would be the thumb one.
Yeah, and why were you telling me he did that?
It's like my theater, that's a lame thing to say. My theater teacher at ETSU said that he had they'd hired a psychology person. I sound like Hasty when I talk sometimes. Allegedly, when you do this, it's like a way for you to make a point because people need to see some dynamics. But it's like he's giving you the thumbs up all the time. But he wouldn't do it quite that. He'd like kind of tuck it so they couldn't really quite get at that. But that's what it is. It's like a subliminal thumbs up the whole time is essentially what it is.
And I need to. So yeah, and not only that, people don't like to be pointed at so much. So look what it's showing for the thumbnail of our video.
Nice. I hope that stays.
That's the thumbnail for our video as of right now. I don't know if they'll keep it that way or not, but look at here.
I hope so. See, that makes me want to eat a big 7-inch bird. That makes me want to give a blowjob to a Whopper.
Beef job. Tim's giving beef jobs out here.
Only the Whoppers, though.
The 7-inch cheeseburger, the super 7-incher. What's her name here? I wanted to find her name before I told you about this.
32 seconds. I've seen this video before, but I've not seen it in a long time.
Genevieve von Petzinger is her name. Genevieve von Petzinger.
I took French.
Now she went.
Say that.
Yeah, a lot of people say Genevieve, and that's like.
Is it French or is it?
It's French. Genevieve is how you actually say it.
I got 8 both semesters.
Did you?
That's scary.
I had 4 years of French. I can still read it and write it fine.
I can write it really well, actually, but I cannot speak it.
Yeah, I can speak it if I have a minute or two to think about it, but I don't really understand it as well as I used to anymore. But here's where I want to do that, and I wanted to try to do something. If you're still with us after this long in the video, I'm going to now try to do something a little bit original here, because
if you will.
Yes.
He starts rapping.
You know, I used to.
I didn't.
Back,
I had to rap like the DC Talk songs.
It was funny when I was in high school. I used to try to do like Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia were my two favorite musical groups, and I would try to write my own raps like them, and you have to talk about all kinds of stuff that us boys here in Carter County didn't actually do. So I'm glad I didn't do that in today's age, because I'd be pretty embarrassed about that. Now none of y'all can make fun of me for the stupid shit that I used to rap. But I want to show you this picture that Genevieve von Petzinger. Miss You Too says, I'd rather blow a Whopper sandwich.
Only if it's 7 inches, though.
Only if it's 7 inches. I'd rather blow my money on something else.
Was that when they were selling that sandwich that was like this? It looked more like a sub sandwich?
Yeah.
That thing was gross.
Yeah.
So I did blow one of those sandwiches. And it wasn't good.
Blow its oniony load all over you, huh? Yeah, it didn't have a bunch of onions and A1 sauce on it.
I don't know.
I think it did. Well, Miss Genevieve, I got this from a TED talk that she gave, where she was talking about how she'd gone into.
I'm going to call this one into question.
Okay, we'll look at it in just a minute. Yeah, but just a minute, just a minute. We got Genevieve went into caves all over Europe, and a lot of the cave art that you see is up to 40,000 years old, somewhere between 10 and 40,000 years old. That's the first time that we start seeing this, and Europe is the only place in the world where we really see it that old. And this was during the Ice Age. So Genevieve, when she sees depictions of this cave art, she starts wondering, why in the world would somebody crawl a half a mile under the ground with a torch to go paint this on a cave? And so that's why she starts going around and she starts cataloging these things. Now, we've talked on this show before about a book by Graham Hancock called Supernatural. And in Supernatural, well, let's get into that in just a minute.
This right here, because I'm going to have to ask you a question.
Okay.
Can you keep it? Oh, well, I guess I asked right now. Did this far down, is it not possible that a lot of that ground was added between point A and point B? Like they didn't go down that far, you know?
I don't think it would make that much difference in 10 to 40,000 years. I mean, you don't have that much erosion that you're really talking, millions of years before you really start getting into stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure it was not, I'm sure like, we're talking maybe 10, 20, 30 feet, stuff like that, but.
Yeah. Okay.
And at the same time, as it was also an ice age, so if anything, it would have had tundra and, more land on top of it, and it would be closer to the surface now than it was then. But when she went down, she found there's animals and stuff like this, obviously, right? That would make sense to paint animals, but there were also a bunch of abstract symbols. Now, Graham Hancock, when he was doing his book Supernatural, he also noticed the same thing. He noticed it before her, but she kind of followed up on his work without giving him any credit. And what Mr. Hancock came to determine was that there were certain symbols that were in use all around the world in their ancient art, whether it be South America, Africa, or Europe. Now, she specifically focused on Europe, but Mr. Hancock was curious. I guess he's Dr. Hancock was and there's a little subliminal for you. But Mr.
Joe Rogan's podcast is the new Project Mockingbird.
Yeah, so, or maybe we are.
Well, no, we're Project Mockingbird. He's the source, and we're supposed to imitate that. So we're actually just.
I'm not doing too well because I probably only watch Joe Rogan probably every couple months or so if he's got somebody I'm interested to see.
Back in the early, the early hundreds, like 500 to 1,000. I used to watch it quite a bit, and then when the show went from being a comedy podcast to being Joe interviews whoever the new famous person, I just lost interest. I didn't want to hear him interview Steven Tyler. I liked it better when it was Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo, Bill Burr, and Patrice. Well. Patrice I know was OPNA. I liked it when it was 4 comedians or even 2 or 3 comedians talking about comedy. And I liked some of the other stuff, but like if Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson stuff, they were on there way early. So that wasn't a new addition to the show. Like I said, I just really lost interest when it became, hey, let's find out what Kanye West has on his mind, or I don't care.
Well, I started reading Graham Hancock's books a long time before I ever watched any Joe Rogan. But in the book Supernatural,
I don't read.
And this is a book like this, so it's kind of, I'm just going to try to condense it as much as I can. But Graham Hancock he came up with the idea that when he went around the world and he looked at all these different cultures, he found that there was a similarity not only in their art, the abstract patterns that they painted. Like, if you were in the jungle of South America, you'd probably paint a big snake, or if you were, a crocodile or, a big cat, something like that. Same with Africa. But if you're in, on the plains of Mongolia, you're probably going to paint a bunch of horses. So that stuff was all different. But when you get back into the basic symbols that they painted, grid patterns, a lot of this stuff right here, like the asterisks, the crosshatch here, they call it the cruciform, and they actually don't show several of them, but these are ones that Genevieve found.
Quarterform just looks like a heart to me, doesn't you? The one looks like a 1. Oh.
Negative hand here, but she found these all over, right?
Like
there were some that were unique to their area, but these were found repeatedly all over the place. These 32 symbols,
and they are though.
And yeah, they are. But and Genevieve makes this point in her TED Talk, if it's just this random thing, then there should be way more unique symbols, right? This is all the unique symbols that they found over all of Europe, other than the animals. So
but she's not counting Newgrange and those sites then.
I don't know where that is.
There's 2 hills in Ireland that you can find that they call them burial mounds, but a lot of people are starting to speculate that maybe they got covered over the years, because if you type in, I think it's Newgrange, and I can't remember what the name of the other one is. It's a funny word. Yeah, you've got some weird swirl. I mean, there was the swirl
You
on
got
there,
spirals,
but
yeah.
if you look at some of the other ones they do, it's way more complicated. It does the swirl, but then it does like knots and stuff like that.
Get out of here, Blair.
And I guess you could say that these
combination
specific
of
ones are found everywhere in the world, is what your argument was.
Well, that's the main thing, is these are found all over the world.
But if we're going to say this right here, I disagree with that too, because those knee range patterns, you can find those in the ancient places in Greece.
Why don't you quit disagreeing with me for a second? Because
Well, it's saying,
because
I get what they're saying as far as the symbols and stuff, but I disagree at the same time.
well, if you let me finish it out here, you may find you agree a little bit more.
Maybe.
But let's see, where was I now? Okay. So she found these symbols all over the caves. Graham Hancock found a bunch of very similar symbols all over the caves that he went to in Eastern Europe, and he went all over the world and found these things, and he came to the conclusion, or the hypothesis, that these were things that people were seeing when they would enter into a trance of some sort or another. There were different ways that people got to trance, whether it were drugs, whether it were dancing to exhaustion, whether it were hypnotization. No, this is from Jean-Viève von Peregrine. But I'm talking about that when Hancock found these things, and there was a couple symbols also that she doesn't have here, and it was a man who has been pierced by something like a spear or other sharp object.
Okay.
And Hancock, he decided that where he found those were places where people would take hallucinogenic plants. Mm-hmm. And so he is theorizing that is a reference to the stomach pain that you get from taking a hallucinogenic poisonous plant.
I'm not posit an argument that I think you might agree with.
Well, and he may or may not be right. That's what he's saying. But basically, anyway, any of these places you found these ancient cultures would go into trances, and some way or another, whether it was, like I said, drugs, exhaustion, hypnotization, they all had their own ways of doing it, mostly through drugs. But they would all paint these symbols, mm-hmm. And when we get into Joe Rogan, this may be where Joe Rogan comes up, because I'm sure you've heard of the machine elves on Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. When you go around to different cultures all around the world, not only that, you have...
That's a shared experience you're about to mention.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And whether it's on ayahuasca or...
It's always DMT.
Yeah.
Is the issue.
Yeah.
It's... it could be the 5-MeO, it could be the toad. There's different variants of kinds of DMT, but... in the higher doses of DMT, they always describe... So here's the issue. Like, he's talking about... I don't know if I agree that these would be seen in hallucinogens, because the hallucinogenic patterns that even I've seen have been way more complex. Like, that makes sense, like in the Indian mandalas, mm-hmm. and even the ones like you find in Pakistan and stuff that have like the designs. That's reminiscent. If you take psychedelics, you'll start seeing the patterns. But when they start talking about the shared experience, this is something that they talk about in psychology. Joe Rogan's talked about it to the point where I was tired of hearing him talk about it. I'm sure he's still talking about it. With DMT, it would be different if someone took it and they saw a dragon, and then somebody saw a panda bear, and then one person saw a spinning pig. I don't know, mm-hmm. But everybody on the highest levels that you're supposed to take, everybody essentially sees the same sort of thing, and that's interesting, because that adds credibility to what you're talking about with seeing the same things. Just those are really broken down simple forms, in my opinion. Maybe that's just like early math or something.
Yeah, well, it could be, and that's actually kind of what I'm getting into, is I think these are symbols. These right here, these very basic symbols. Now don't conflate the Graham Hancock symbols. So let me find them real quick.
Don't conflate them.
Yeah,
what?
with those symbols right there, because if we go...
Terrence McKenna made his first appearance on our podcast with Spill the Tea.
All right. Terrence McKenna always talked about them. Yeah, he did. And Jimmy says, I would love to try DMT. Oh, shit. Let me find these. Let me find these images, Graham. Man, that's going to be difficult. Galleries. But if you look at these right here, I think that what these are the basic, like you said, the basic primitive language, and that's almost what Genevieve says. She figures that these are like the predecessors to words, which were, were the predecessors to hieroglyphics, which were the predecessors to words. And my question is, where do these things come from? Because they came the same symbols out of everybody's mind. That's, all over all over the world, different times, different cultures. These things were in their brains. Where did they come from? And I think that's what these symbols, like that they are using in corporate logos, like they're using in advertising. We all know that, the colors can affect you. Like they use red and yellow to induce anxiety in fast food restaurants. While the restaurants and fast food, almost all of them are red and yellow color schemes because they want you to order your food and get the hell out of there so they can sell more food to somebody else. And again, we also create the anxiety, which you think you can alleviate by ordering their food. And I think that's what all these symbols right here basically are they're going down to the archetypes in your brain that is the very base of who we are as human beings and communications. And you think about how communication happened initially. You had first it would be point at things. And then eventually somebody might figure, well, I can draw a picture of that. That probably came well before language. Is somebody, tried to draw a picture of a horse, like, I'm gonna go ride this horse or whatever.
I would think that language would predate the written part.
I think language would predate the written, but as far as like painting your hand on the wall, I don't know about that. I think maybe that would come first.
So the idea that maybe, and obviously not these, but I've always had this like idea that maybe. Always, because I'm smart. I'm sure I heard it from somebody. The idea that like the hieroglyphics that are in South America and the hieroglyphics that are in Egypt and other places, they're not simple. Like they're like, oh, look how primitive this is, and you're looking at no,
they're not
that's
simple.
Complicated as hell.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what if that's advanced? What if that's an advanced language?
I think it is.
Memes? Look how quick you can like decipher a meme like nothing as long as you can relate to it.
That's exactly where I was going with it.
With some of these symbols are.
That's exactly where I was going with it. And those hieroglyphics are, and that's what I was going to get to is the language that is used before it became a spoken language, before it became a written language, is basically memetics. Yeah, that's what they call it. And we need to get into the Army of the Frogs and the Pepe memes. If Donald Trump decides he's going to run for president, that's the next episode, which I'm sure he will.
He's going to run.
But if he announces, we're going to do that the first episode after. Got to show you guys about the cult of Kek. It's insane. You won't believe it.
If they've been on the internet, they might know about it. But
you got to be pretty deep on the internet to get into the cult of Kek.
Yes. And the only reason I'll agree with you on that one is because I've been arguing with people online that have been using that Pepe head, and they don't even know what website it came from. So it's like, once something gets taken, well, there's a cult of gadget too. If that,
Yeah, you told me about that.
There's cult of everything that starts something up. So it's not really like something can get so far away from its source that it's not understood. But yeah, 4chan's an interesting place. That would be an episode. I would like to do an episode on that without. I would like to do a neutral episode on some of the thread forums because like 4chan, Reddit, all those sites, they get like polarized, I guess, and I would like to discuss them in a neutral light because they have done good and bad things that the site says themselves, never involving my antics, of course. I've always been an observer,
a lurker. This so yeah, we see lots of in our letters, and you can stylize the letters to look like that. But then we've also got our 666 here that's real common in a lot of logos, and we've got, if we look at these right here, I've showed you these already, but you kind of got similar patterns going on here, with your swirl. All the logos basically and all the symbols that we made are kind of built on those original 32. I mean, yeah, there's more, but they're all built on these original ones here, and these are the ones that really tend to stick in our mind. These shapes.
Sauron.
Yeah.
Sauron. So is it Sauron or Saruman?
Well, Saruman's the White Wizard, so I imagine it'd be him. But yeah, so how did we come up with these shapes? How did these just pop? They get into our mind. What is this? And Grant Hancock, he came up with the idea that we are actually, when people are going into those trance states, whether it be for drugs or exhaustion, whatever, all the things we mentioned earlier, hypnosis, when they get into those states, what if they are actually interacting with entities from another dimension inside their brain? Who knows where this intelligence comes from? But it's a common thing when people do these drugs like ayahuasca. They will have hallucinations that are shared with another group of people, and you can actually have people independently of one another, not in the same place, trip at the same time and have the same experience with one another. At least there's reports of that. I don't know if there's any, scientific study verifying that they're not just making it up, because of course you had to have
This one time,
yeah, man, I saw that snake too. He was talking to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, that could be a thing too, because I've never seen a study, but there's a lot of reports of that, and I've had some similar situations, but again, I've not, wasn't like careful to share my experience in ways such as that somebody else could not, just copy me or whatever and say that they were seeing the same thing. But where are these things coming from? Is it from another dimension? Is it from God? Is it from, influences from beyond our understanding? Whatever it is something that is in us as human beings.
How many times, this is a hypothetical, have you been like, ooh, I'm going to eat a handful of mushrooms and trip balls and saw a floating F and J side by side and then a Y, and you were like, oh my God, look at that white hand. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll tell you.
Oh my God, a tic-tac-toe pattern floating in the air.
Well, I have, though. Here's the thing.
Okay.
When you lay back and look at the ceiling and you're watching the little things, movies up there, I've seen all kinds of these little symbols.
I'm talking about like the skull would talk to you and maybe whatever that is, the push. But I've never seen an asterisk going, woo!
Well, okay, the crosshatch, for example. Let's look at the crosshatch.
How would you even see the negative hand?
I don't know. But look at the crosshatch, for example. I know the first time I ever smoked weed, I had a thing across my vision in the shape of a crosshatch. It was blurry right here.
Sure you just weren't looking out your window?
Yeah. No, I was outside.
Okay.
But it was like I saw a pulsing crosshatch across my vision. And it was like it wasn't like defined, but it was there.
There's not too many people that'll most people, if you ask them, have you ever had the trippier effects on weed, most people say no. But a long time ago, way before I was even into drugs or anything, I got a hold of some way stronger weed than I should have had amongst my first couple times ever trying it. Mm-hmm. And I swear it was like so strong. Maybe I was just time warping, where you're like, shit, how'd I get my
yeah.
But I swear I saw one of the animals go through a wall at one point, and I was like, "What did somebody slip me PCP, or what?" So I would believe you that you saw like a cross pattern. I would have
and other ones too, and on LSD and stuff, I've seen kind of similar things too, features in like when I'm staring at a wall or a field of grass, and I would see those kind of forms kind of take place.
I've never seen an asterisk.
I don't know that I have either, but I've seen kind of geometrical shapes kind of form and in the surface that I'm staring at. And if you close your eyes too, I could see geometrical patterns floating in an infinite limbo.
There's an interest in over the last year on YouTube in Datura stramonium and a couple other ones, and that's not good because people really don't need to be taking that. But I've had I would like to actually do maybe a whole episode on that at some point, because I look at that as like, don't do drugs. It's like mushrooms and Molly is like, it's like you have a bigger chance of getting a hug versus like a dark trip where it decides to make you face all the worst things you've ever done. Whereas if you take Datura, you're guaranteed that. Like it's you're guaranteed a bad trip. It's like if you take mushrooms, you might feel loved, whereas if you take Datura, you feel very much like God hates you.
And you can feel that way. You can feel that way
exactly what it feels like
on something like LSA or LSD too.
I have but it's guaranteed with Datura.
Okay.
What I'm saying. Like it's like you might be feeling a little bad for yourself on LSD and stuff like that. But like if you take Datura, you are guaranteed to feel like God hates you for 5 hours.
And stuff like this is on Sam Wolf's website. You got these mushroom-headed people floating off into space, just floating up in their mushroom heads.
That was a different group of people.
Yeah.
You know, like you think they were bubble-headed people?
No, I think that personally, I mean, I guess it could be, but I would think that would mean that they've been eating mushrooms, and that was.
I think it was just their version of art.
Yeah, I think so.
Those other species at some point.
No, maybe, but that's another thing that you saw.
Why'd they give it a dick?
That was another thing that he saw a lot. That Graham Hancock saw a lot was animals with, chimeric animals, you would say, with different heads or different tails or different features than the main animal, and also people combined with an animal head. And you saw depictions of ancient shamans. They would wear a deer head or whatever, a bear head, buffalo head, whatever it might be. And then you got, let's see, let me look up here a little bit, see if we can find.
Chat, my phone died.
All right. Well, let me find one more thing right here.
I'm gonna have to look up what the other Newgrange and there's a Dun something's. Those are interesting. They're like big mud huts with rocks and shit on the inside.
I bet I can't find it like this.
Why?
Oh yeah, wow, it's the first one. And here we got the picture of Lord and Lady Rothschild, Guy de Rothschild, or Guy de Rothschild and Marie Helene de Rothschild at the Rothschilds' Surrealist Ball.
Oh, is that what it is? It's a Surrealist Ball?
Yeah. Projectile. But yeah, and here we see Lady Helen looking pretty sexy under that deer head there. And then this was the first time I saw that photo. I'd seen a lot of stuff like this, but
do you think those people wake up every day and go, "All right, gotta stay on top," and just start just think about squishing humans all day long?
No,
let the family down.
No, I think they're more robotic and
emotionless.
Yeah.
They wake up every day and say, "All right, time to ensure the family legacy.
Time to make the donuts." Oh, Ayo, let's see. Spill says, well, we got to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Spill the tea all over me says Disney. Yes, and yes, there's a lot of corporate logos that use the 666, and a lot of them use 13s.
Google, I'm sure that's a
Yeah, let's look at that one really quick. Look at a few more, just in case y'all haven't seen these, but you probably have. Let's see. We got lots of different groups of them here. Where's the 666 ones? Because there's a bunch. And here's a bunch of Eye of Horus, or Eye of Ra, or the Eye of Providence, all-seeing eye, lots of different iterations of that.
Reference to Odin.
Yeah, that could be too.
I like the psychology behind Norse mythology. It's pretty cool.
We should do an episode on that.
Cool.
And where's the 666? Let's see. Let's look up satanic corporate logos, because that was just occult corporate logos. Satanic Corpse is what it. Alright. That's like 666.
What about Dave Grohl's movie, and then his drummer died?
What was his movie?
He earlier this year, the Foo Fighters released a movie called something 666. It was like a Studio 666, I think, where it was a horror movie, comedic horror movie, more in the style of like Tenacious D, but I think it's like Dave Grohl gets possessed and kills his whole band or something, essentially in the movie. But,
Well, here we got the Seal of Satan, the Google Play logo, very similar to it, and then you got the Walt Disney there. Where's Chrome at?
I'm not saying Dave Grohl killed Taylor
There's
Hawkins.
the 666 Chrome.
I'm saying Dave Grohl probably killed Kurt Cobain in a ritual sacrifice to Satan in order to attain his fame so he could take Kurt Cobain's place and be the front man. And as a price for killing his front man, the price was going to be him, but to delay his time on this planet, he
gave it over to
sacrificed his drummer.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so people are just going to keep dying and keep that son of a bitch on this planet. I'm not saying I believe this, folks, though. I'm just saying sometimes the shit that happens in my head makes way more sense. Go back to that devil logo. I saw the Oreo cookie in it.
Where?
I'm saying the shit in my head makes more sense to me sometimes than reality.
No.
There was a symbol that you had that had like Baphomet and stuff, and I saw that Oreo cookie swirl up in there. We were talking before the podcast that the Oreo cookie has a double cross on it. And I'm not real sure what the significance of that is, but it's just a weird thing that we've been eating on a cookie for...
I'm not allowing you to give me notifications, whatever you random website or
just let it have. I'm sure it won't give you a virus. There it is. Whoop. That is on the Oreo cookie. See next to its ears?
Oh, yeah.
That symbol right there is on the Oreo cookie. Mm-hmm. You've been chewing those things with milk this whole time. I'm not saying it's an evil symbol, but there it is, next to Hell Satan, and it's on a cookie.
And y'all out there drinking milk. Oh, let's see. Well, I think I've made my point here that somewhere deep inside us, these symbols that we see, and we didn't even get to the skull and the ice cube. Let's see if I can pull that up real quick. But these symbols are.
They're fucking with you.
Yeah.
Well,
they're fucking with you. They're using something deep inside your brain in order to fuck with you.
These symbols are based inside of us deep, and they know it, and they're using it.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that's not a true theory, because I know for a fact they're definitely messing with us. I'm just not so certain some of those symbols are really based inside of our head. I think some of them are just really like the tic-tac-toe. Some of it looks like just math. No, that's weird.
Yeah, but if it's just math, that's what I'm saying though. There's not an infinite number of random symbols that seem to be drawn that are all over the world, right? There's this small number of them that you see repeated all over the place.
Well, it's just that we only recognize them though.
I mean, I guess that could be too, but why would we only recognize those? Why would it be that those things catch our brain more than any other?
Okay, well, on the label thing, on the list of symbols, like one of them is a line. Like it's just what if a line is, you know what I'm saying? Like that's real basic. A line.
Oh man, I gotta get this one. Dickies are for moving men.
I wonder who's pitching.
They're pretty overt there, aren't they?
God.
Freedom lovers, these are your coveralls.
Oh God.
Pitching to the gay vote there.
See, if I was a right-wing nut, I'd say that's trying to get you manly men to start butt humping. Trying to make you men.
Well,
you're men. I don't want you
that'll keep you from having babies, won't it? If you're out there butt humping instead of.
I never said you couldn't have a wife. You just gotta have a lot of a lot of little lady boyfriends on the side, a little twink action, wink wink. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that's true. I think this was the Psychology Today article that had the Coca-Cola skull and the.
You probably type in Coca-Cola skull ice cube, and it'll probably pop up. It's a pretty famous logo in
okay.
psychology classes. It would pop up. Of course, that was in a textbook. Easy to find that way.
Nope.
Scroll down the images. There we go. Oh, they're trying to hide it by giving you this skull ice cube bullshit.
Let's look up. I've got it right quick. I know where to put it on this one.
And then some of those images, I'm like, are you sure that image was repeated more than once? Have you seen the reference stones that are out in the desert in California? They think they're about, I think, like 6,500 years old, if I'm not mistaken. But if you look at it, it's essentially a map of the area, so people could find their way around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting. You can take a little ladder thing and walk pretty close up to it. They put some plexiglass kind of in front of it a little bit because, people are dickheads and started throwing shit at it and stuff because, we can't have anything nice.
Dang it, I don't remember which one of these it was.
Which one what?
The ice cube. One of these had the skull ice cube in it. Maybe it was this one. Yeah, that's what it was.
Cola, they get the job done.
There we go. Now, at first you can't really see it there.
I see it.
But you can if you look close. It's kind of like a,
they had a Coke one.
retarded skull.
It's older back in the day. It was just turned sideways in the Coke because turns out your brain doesn't just like sex. It also likes violent and macabre things. So even if you're scared of it, not necessarily even drawn to it, like it catches your attention.
Yeah. And in this in the Bacardi advertisements, there's also a bull's head, a rabbit, a bat, fox, and a skull. And it says you don't have to mix it to like it, and it can be consumed straight up without diluting it with another one. So they're trying to get you to drink this thing and using the skull, your fascination with the macabre to draw you to it.
They're already using the bat.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of that, and Bacardi did a lot of advertising. A lot of liquor companies did like that, like Devils and stuff like that in their ads. But anyway, it's about 11:45, so I think we're about to tie it down tonight. What do you think about it? Where do you think that these symbols come from? Do you think there's something deep within us? Do you think we get them from God or whoever created us? Do you think it's just part of the inherent nature of the universe that is a function of the mathematical construct that we all live in, the rules of the universe. Really, math is the language of the universe. Whether no matter what language you speak, ultimately binary code, and that's the universal language of everything, and numbers. But we mostly use Arabic numbers. But
sacred geometry would be interesting, because it's like we're, no matter how you do sacred geometry, we're still observing what exists. It's like did we find something magical, or we literally just find the code for our reality that we're in? What'd you look at?
Oh, I was just going to read these chats here. I forgot to read some of these. Yeah, it's because Spill said talking about CERN, and she's talking about the 666 and the logo of CERN. If you'll pull that up, it looks just like the Chrome, very similar to the Chrome logo. And Spill says, I've never seen anything other than tie-dye move. Yeah, to me, I remember the first thing I noticed was when laying down on the bed the first time I ever tripped, and you could just watch, it was a popcorn ceiling, and I'd just watch one thing of popcorn. Like, first it started off and it'd just swim its way all the way down, and then I'd start seeing different geometric patterns emerge in it. And Spill says on shrooms. AO says, I'm super late, starting from the beginning. Good to see y'all. It's nice to have you with us, AO. I'm so happy that you joined us in the chat. Spill says, I kind of see auras, not colors, just the energies, but not always. Now, I occasionally will too. And it's usually when somebody is really focused on something, I can start to pick up an aura, I guess is the only thing I know to call it.
Auras of the mental defect called synesthesia that they're building up on the internet today. Like, a lot of people are trying to say it's a good thing, but it can be really obnoxious. And my theory, because synesthesia, for people who don't know, anybody that tells you other than me that they have it is also going to come across as an asshole, because it's like saying you're a great bowler but you didn't do anything. Essentially what it is when you hear certain musical tones, you also get a visual of color, right? Some people have it stronger, some people have it lesser. I think people who see auras have some level of synesthesia, and they just don't know that's what it is. Because almost everybody that I know that sees auras is also into arts on some level.
Synesthesia, great instrumental death metal album by Odious Mortem. Check it out. It's got a nice fretless bass doing some really swervy stuff. It's pretty cool. No vocals in it, so if you don't like the all the time, you might really like it. Because it's the kind of music that you would normally hear, with death metal vocals, but no death metal vocals in it. And like I said, when I've seen colors around people, it's not all the time, and it tends to be when somebody's really focused on something, or if they're having a really strong emotion or something. Then I tend to see a gray or an orange, depending on what the situation. If somebody's really really working hard and intently focusing on what they're doing, I'll tend to see like an orangish color from them, where I may see a gray as if they're very sad or very upset about something. Jimmy says they supposedly encountered weird, unexplained things during their last recording session that was done in an old house converted to a studio. And, he said the monster logo. Yeah, it's a 666, and oh man, we missed a bunch here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the monster logo is 666, and with the Hebrew.
Yeah, it's the Hebrews 3 6s.
They did it on purpose, though.
Yeah.
Like, they blatantly.
Well, if you look at energy drinks, you got Red Bull, you got Venom with a one eye snake. You've got. What's the one? Monster. They're the most popular energy drinks, and Rockstar has the star symbolism. You've got a lot of that dark symbolism or occult symbolism in all the energy drinks for whatever reason. You think about the Red Bull, you got the sun symbol, and then you got the bulls.
That goes all the way back to
at the cross
or whatever.
Yeah,
Moloch and city next to Japan that has the two bulls with the sun above them.
So that's an interesting one. I'm glad y'all brought that up.
That's an Asian drink, though.
The Amazon logo, yeah, we got a smile, and it becomes a devil's tail. If you look at that, the Amazon logo, where do we go on that?
The story of the Red Bull was was it from Japan?
I'm not sure.
There was a businessman found the energy drink. I'm pretty sure the guy that made it was a Japanese guy, if I'm not mistaken. But a marketer got a hold of it and turned it into what it was. Because it was supposed to be an energy booster for people, like medicinal, and he saw the value behind it being, well, let's just tell people to chug these things for energy.
Yeah, the taurine, I guess, is what that is.
They were putting those in drinks back in the day, like when I was a kid, before the Red Bull, and you could just get out of the machine.
Yeah, what was that one? Josta?
Yeah.
Had guarana and taurine in it?
Yeah. It was purple.
Yeah. That never did give me a rush or anything.
My brother Dan drank them all the time. I drank it one time, didn't like it, went back to what I was drinking, which at the time was a frosty root beer.
You remember Surge?
I do remember Surge.
Slurms McKenzie.
Do you remember Jolt?
Yep.
Jolt was the
Cola.
original. Is that what was it? Twice the caffeine, half the flavor. Or something.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember what it was. I drank one of those on the way to a youth trip one time. I remember sitting in the back seat vibrating so hard I was about to knock the van off the road.
Yeah, there's the Amazon logo. We see from A to Z, they want to imply that they got everything you need from A to Z, and then they've also got a couple different levels because they got the tail here. This looks like a devil tail to me. That's what I see. That's what I see anyway. And then there's the smile there. So that's the way I see it. Spill said to look at that carefully. That's what I see when I look at that. Oh, I've always saw. She says the bend, the tip. Yeah. And we got the 666 and the monster logo. Let's look at that monster 666. And
Oh, you added a 6 on there. You're super evil. That's right, folks. You had a 4th 6. You transcend the devil. You go to super devil.
did Monster really hide satanic symbols on their drinks? Ask Livewire, Loudwire.
Did it blatantly. They even said it.
Well, there's a quick screenshot of it. You got the Hebrew number for 6 right there, and then you got 3 of them in a row. And you know,
cross when you drink it upside down, you're turning the cross.
oh yeah, in the O right there. If you can see that.
The O with the
when you-
line drawn through it.
Yeah.
What does that symbol represent?
I don't know, but I was thinking that was the cross you were talking about.
I want to say it's somewhere else. They may have stopped doing that one. But that is an old symbol, that O with the symbol going, the lines.
I mean, it doesn't look like just a plain O. It looks like a cross to me, because
Does it?
I mean, look at it. It's flat across the top right there.
Yeah, maybe. There's a cross that has the zoopy thing behind
Man,
it. It's
I
usually
went to-
top, you know?
I went to a funeral in an Episcopal church, and they used a lot of different symbols that a lot of people would think of satanic. I've never been to an Episcopal church before, but they used a lot of
Devil
different.
section.
They
corner?
got some that
Devil
look
corner?
like they got some that kind of look like it. Yeah, they got the St. Peter's cross, the upside down cross. They got the broken cross.
Yeah.
A lot of different stuff that people say is satanic that they use in there.
It's supposed to be to remind people that exists. Like if you go to ancient, like the old Catholic churches.
Look, dude, the Rothschilds control the weather. Sorry.
I want to see the image.
Sorry, the ancient Catholics. I don't know. That didn't have anything to do with anything. I just thought it was
Oh,
funny.
the ancient. If you go to the back of the old cathedrals, they used to have a devil. I don't know what you call it. I call it a devil room, and it's just a whole section that's dedicated to pictures of hell and demons, like raping women and eating their babies and all kinds of crazy stuff, and dudes being like put over spit style over a flame like a pig. And if you look into it's like they were like, I guess if you consider back then most people couldn't even read.
You go,
I guess they were trying to scare them on the straight and narrow.
you got this big snake head here in the Vatican.
Yeah, that's modern though. That's what's so creepy
Is
about
it?
that. The old ones I kind of got it where it was like people couldn't read, so we had to show them that these devil things exist. Man, that's a modern church. And they made it look like a Satan head or a snake head.
You got the fangs. You got the eyes. You got the head. Looks like a pit viper, all right.
There's these two. What are those? French cards? Is that what they're called?
Swiss guard.
Swiss card. That's
Yeah.
right. Look like tarot card members of a jack and a deck of cards or something. Man, I can tell you, like I took one of those $1.50 tours at Moose's I was talking about to
Yeah.
Italy at one point. And I can tell you, the Vatican depressed the shit out of me.
Really?
It really did.
Guess you should have paid more than $1.50.
Yeah. No, the whole city is just like gorgeous, like what the Vatican is. Like everything's marble and gold. And as the guy's talking, he's like, "Yeah, we got this marble from here where they were using it as a homeless shelter, and they got this marble from here." And it's like the whole thing is just how they took resources for people and just built this monstrosity for like 5 people to live in.
Right.
And then you go inside and it's like, oh, this guy spent 15 years of his life on this one corner over here and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, this is making me really sad because this is just for these pedophilic popes. This isn't benefiting anybody.
Jimmy, who are you talking about that they supposedly encountered weird, unexplained things on their last recording session that was done in their old house?
Foo Fighters.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay. Interesting. I didn't
I'm
know.
not saying that
Spill
Dave
said she
Grohl
heard
is the
that.
devil. But, you know, Dave
He
Grohl,
likes pretending
he
to
might
be the devil. He likes
so.
pretending to be the devil, and you know the devil is a really.
love him.
That's what I was gonna say. The devil's a really fun guy.
People love him.
The devil doesn't get you by scaring you; he gets you by having a good time. with you.
Almost like the devil would get you by being rock and roll Jesus up there on stage.
Yep. It's like Pinocchio. all you lost boys go to the island and smoke your cigars and drink your beer and have a good old time. The next thing you know,
Jordan Peterson pops up and starts whacking. Get your asses to work and make your bed.
work, donkeys, work.
Why are none of your beds made?
Hee haw, motherfuckers.
Have you seen the Jordan Peterson voice box? Is that what it's called?
No.
Sound sample, whatever
you just
you
push a
call it.
button on
Whatever
it
you call it when you
and,
have like an infinite sample. Well, apparently Jordan Peterson has spoken so much at this point that they've got a word for everything. Like they've done it with Rogan and a couple of other ones. So of course the very first thing people did with Jordan Peterson was make him say incredibly gay stuff. When it was like, don't make your bed. In fact, you should suck cock in that bed.
Hey, you do a pretty good Jordan Peterson.
Oh, man. Canadian up going.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, hey, listen, it's been 2 hours. We'll let y'all go. We appreciate you sticking with us. If you're still with us, miss you too. Says great show, really interesting and funny. I'm glad you thought so. Miss you too. I'm glad you're with us, and it's nice to have you in the chat. Anyway, email us at theironmountainhour@gmail.com. Give us a like on this video, subscribe, share this thing around, try to convince somebody else to subscribe so that we can build that count up. When we get 500, we're going to release our new song, The Iron Mountain Hour, and so when we get to 400, we might actually record it.
We'll make a cult too, so don't
Yeah, you definitely don't. We're going to be meeting in an old buried storage container behind Tim's house, and until we get a larger facility. All right, y'all. Well, hey, listen, we'll see you on Wednesday. We're going to do our news and current events roundup. We're trying to move all the news and stuff to Wednesday, and we're just going to stick to our show topics on Sundays because I know it gets a little bit heavy. Some of this news, man, was just bringing me down. I didn't even want to do news the other night when we did the AI creepypasta about Loab and the ghost in the machine. It was like the news was bringing me down so much I didn't want to do it. But
I really don't see how news people do it all the time.
Yeah, but ultimately that's why I wanted to do this shows because there's a lot of news stories that are very important that aren't being talked about, and I do want us to talk about them. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that's like groundwork, like this, like subliminal messaging and symbology and symbolism and the different occult meanings behind things and where all these things come from and how it's being used to manipulate you. So I think it's important to go into a lot of that stuff that we do on the show topics, even if it is maybe stuff like Bigfoot and stuff like that. I still think it all ties into it. So we appreciate y'all joining us. Tim, you were starting to say something and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't think I was.
All right. Well, you were. But
it was very insightful, and Cliff robbed you all of a nugget of wisdom. So blame him.
That damn Cliff. Hey, listen, I appreciate y'all. Let's see you on Wednesday. We'll do news and current events roundup. Bye, y'all.